Oh, right. The Moon Lake Park Ranger said you might call. But you have to talk fast. An old friend of mine is flying in today from Florida. And when I say old, I mean old, as in 5 years older than I am. Don't bother trying to do the math, sweet stuff. You'll hurt yourself. So, that ranger fella said you found an old picture of me.
It was of you and Mickey Malone. Do you remember him?
Of course I remember him. I remember everything about that time of my life. It was the roaring 20s, for crying out loud. One of the most exciting decades in American history. Just because I've got a few years on most people doesn't mean my brain's turned to tapioca, sweet stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
Mickey and I dated for 5 years. Oh, I knew what he was, and I didn't approve, believe you me. But I was young, and we got along so well, and he was so considerate. He always kept birch beer on tap at that speakeasy of his just for me.
He had a speakeasy? Where?
It was in the basement, right there at Moon Lake. Feds never knew about it, but everybody who was anybody on the East Coast back then, actors, musicians, bankers, politicians, they knew. You weren't big time unless you'd made at least one trip to Moon Lake Mickey's.
That's weird. I'm staying in his old house on Moon Lake, and I haven't seen any sign of a speakeasy.
Course you haven't. You're not supposed to. Only Mickey and Willie knew how to get into the speakeasy from the house. The rest of us had to go in and out the regular way, through the cemetery.
The cemetery?
There was a lock hidden in one of the tombstones in that little cemetery behind the house. You needed a key to unlock it, and when you did, stairs would appear that led to the speakeasy.
Do you have any idea how to get into Malone's speakeasy from the house?
I sure don't. That saloon was built using 2 main ingredients, concrete and secrecy. Mickey always bragged that nobody could get in unless he wanted them in, and I do believe he was right. But I'll tell you what, if you send me that picture of me and Mickey, I'll send you my key.
The key to the tombstone? You still have it?
It's in the bottom of my jewelry box. I've come this close to throwing it out 100 times, but it's so small and the memories it brings back are so big. Well, I just couldn't. As a joke, Mickey had a tombstone made with the name of this federal agent who had it out for him inscribed on it. That's the one the key unlocks.
Do you know anything about the safe that's in the cellar of his house at Moon Lake?
You must be talking about the wall safe. That was Willie's. By Willie, I mean William Akers, one of the guys who worked for Mickey.
I don't suppose you happen to know the combination.
No one knew the combination, not even Mickey. Mostly because Willie was constantly changing it. He was a little paranoid and superstitious. Well, as I recall, he'd pick the most unlucky number he could think of and use that for the combination. He called it a reverse jinx.
Unlucky number? Like what?
Oh, like the date that something bad happened, like when the stock market crashed, or when somebody died, or the address of a house that caught fire, or the phone number of the police, that sort of thing.
It's been fun talking to you.
23 skidoo, kiddo!
Hello again, Miss Drew. Am I in for another interrogation?
I'd like to mail this photo to the woman in Las Vegas. Can you do that for me?
As always, I'm here to serve, Miss Drew. Just give it to me and I'll take care of it. I'm sure she'll be very pleased to get this back.
Thanks for all your help.
That's why I'm here.
I bet those were deer mice. Speakeasy. Joe Akers? Emily said Jeff Akers' father was named Joe. Maybe Jeff is related to William Akers after all. The dogs will lead the way. I wonder what that means.
A package just arrived for you from Las Vegas.
Great! Vivian sent me the key.
I'll dispose of the package. Wouldn't want to break any littering laws, would we?
What do you know about a man named Joe Akers?
Why do you ask?
I understand he used to be the deputy here.
So?
According to Emily Griffin, Deputy Joe Akers was your father. And according to the journal I found, William Akers' son was named Joe. Another coincidence?
All right. William Akers was my grandfather.
Why didn't you tell me that before?
It's not exactly something I'm proud of. My father spent his whole life trying to make people forget what my grandfather was, and trying to make sure people who didn't know what he was never found out. I've been doing the same thing.
What did William Akers do after Malone was arrested?
I'm afraid you're going to have to excuse me, Miss Drew. In case you've forgotten, I'm a very busy man. I apologize for my previous behavior. As a park ranger, I strive to keep my personal feelings in check at all times, and that time I failed. It's my duty as a public servant to try to make it up to you. What would you like to know?
What can you tell me about the gold that Malone supposedly buried on his property?
As far as I know, it doesn't exist. It's just one of those rumors people want to believe, so they do.
Thanks for all your help.
That's why I'm here.
It looks like some kind of keyhole.
Hello?
Is this Vivian?
No, this is your station drop-off. Vivian's fixing snacks in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh, Eustacia Andropoff? Harry Houdini's cousin?
Use the air horn like I showed you.
No, Eustacia, wait. It's Nancy Drew. I talked to you on the phone a couple of months ago, just after a friend of mine was kidnapped in St. Louis. I asked you questions about the theater where the kidnapping took place, the Royal Palladium, remember?
Nancy Drew. The Snoopy one. You're not dead yet?
No.
Most people, I talk to them one day, next day they're dead. It is an old age thing.